This originated in the main, famously with Griggs versus Duke Power. And for those of you who have gone to law school, you remember that case in which a facially neutral policy, was applied. And I'll go into it in just a moment, just so we can kind of get the universe in which we're operating. You remember that Griggs, Duke Power Company, had applied a standard of a high school diploma as a prerequisite for entry into certain positions. Well, of course, that standard or requisite of a high school diploma had a disparate impact on black employees, and there was no evidence prior to that time that a high school diploma was important in being able to discharge the functions of the job in question. It was clear that this was being used as a device to engage in disparate treatment, despite the fact that it was a facially neutral policy. There was it was abundantly clear that the intent was to discriminate on the basis of race. It didn't have a job relatedness component to it at all. You could do the job just as well regardless of whether or not you had a high school diploma, but it was implemented only after the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and the company needed to make sure that its facially discriminatory policies were eradicated, but this gave them a vehicle by which they could still obtain the same result of discrimination, intentional discrimination. Now, I think that using disparate impact as a tool to discern whether or not an employer or some other bad actor has engaged in disparate treatment is perfectly okay, especially in complex cases. And I wouldn't say in every case, but we have evidence, rules of evidence that permit the adducing of things such as statistical evidence related to the composition of a workforce to provide for the finder of fact some reference point so they can make a determination as to whether or not this particular actor did engage in disparate treatment. But when the means actually become the ends, then we have a problem, because employers and others then try to comport their numbers to satisfy whoever it is who's out there that needs to be satisfied, whether it's the OFCCP or someone else, so that they don't get hit with a ruinous lawsuit. And for many employers, they can't afford the lawsuit. They'd much rather try to jigger their workforce so that it will please their overseers than have to deal with paying the bald guy hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more, in order to defend them against a lawsuit.